What's going on? Welcome back to Building a Complete Wholesale System, Part 2. If you haven't already seen Part 1, I'll put a link in the description so that you can do that one first. But all that having been said, let's just get into it. So last time, as you know, we did our notes log, we did our appointments, and we did our team members. We just have cash buyers, offers, and seller leads left to go. Seller leads is definitely going to be our most time-consuming one, but cash buyers and offers are relatively short. So let's just get them done. We'll start with cash buyers. So first, what we want is a new flow for when a cash buyer is added. So item created. And as you know, for new flows, we always start with 1.0.0 cash buyer created. So from here, in our cash buyers app, if we go into it, we can go into modify templates, see what fields we want to update. So right at the bottom, we have a SmrtPhone field, a cash buyer's PID, and a buyer's URL. We want to make sure we populate all three of these. We always want the URL. We want the Podio item ID. The SmrtPhone is just going to be the digits of phone numbers that cash buyers have. This makes it easier when searching for a maybe duplicate cash buyer or things like that. So we always, when it comes to contacts, seller leads, or cash buyers, we always have a SmrtPhone number. What we also want to add is our show count right here. By default, we populate it as 10. That just means we show the most 10 recent communication history so it doesn't get too long. And we have also another show count field. If we go to our notes section, show count of 10, this just shows the most 10 recent notes so we don't have it too long. You can manually change it to 100 or whatever, but by default, I like to put it as 10. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we first want to do is something that will become very familiar with you when you kind of start doing this yourself, is a SmrtPhone number. That just means for each number that cash buyer has, we get the last 10 digits with no characters and add it in our SmrtPhone field. So we're going to add in a variable called SmrtPhone. Now let me put my mouse highlighter on. Okay, so we're adding in a variable called SmrtPhone, and first it's just going to be empty. So double quotes. From there, we're going to do for each, add in our for each. For each phone number right here, we're going to create another variable. It's going to be the exact same name as the one we have there. And then we're going to get the stripped number. For those that have the cheat sheet code, I'm just going to go ahead and open it right now. What we want is, if you scroll down, we're going to use the same one that's in seller leads. And that's this code right here, the top one in seller leads. So we can copy this basically. And what we want to do is remove this field, remove this token right here, and change it. If we type in var, change it to our SmrtPhone right there. And then we also have this seller phone number field right here. So we can remove this as well. And then we want to just find in the phone. It's the cash buyer's phone right here, and add that in. So essentially, we're updating our variable with the last 10 digits of the phone number that we're looping through. So we can then hit continue. So for those that don't have the cheat sheet code, you can just copy it. It's not too much code, but yeah, just be careful that it's copied properly. And then we can get the SmrtPhone once all the looping. So if they have 5 numbers, it'll loop through all 5 numbers. And then we can use trim. We just want to trim, open parentheses. And then we're going to put in our variable and then close. Oh, no. What we want to do before closing is comma, quote, comma, whoa, and then close. So essentially, all this is doing is we're first creating an empty variable. We're then looping through each phone number that the cash buyer has. Keep in mind that a cash buyer could have multiple phone numbers. So he could have another, and another, and another. So essentially all it's doing is for each of the numbers that the cash buyer has, it's looping through them, getting the last 10 digits, removing any parentheses or dashes, anything that's not a number, getting the last 10 digits, and then creating our SmrtPhone variable. We can then, with that variable, we can update the current item. Going to mark it as silent and hook event. And then what we want to do is update the fields that I showed you earlier on. So we want to update our show count, first show count. We then have another show count at the bottom. We then have our SmrtPhone field, our, scroll down a bit, our buyer's PID, and our buyer's URL. So show count, as I said, is going to be 10 by default. The other one is also going to be 10. Here we can put a variable. PID, we can type in Podio, and then we want the cash buyer's Podio item ID. And then the URL, we just type in URL, and we want the URL link to item. And there we go. Now what we want to do is, in our system, we also have our contact book. So this contact book is what SmrtPhone is going to connect to when we connect SmrtPhone. So anytime a cash buyer is created or a seller lead is created, we want to create a contact in here. So SmrtPhone recognizes it basically, and then their name shows when they call you. So what we want to do is create an item right here. We want to search for contacts. We can mark it as silent. Make sure to mark it as hook event. And what you'll see is permissions are off for this app. So we don't allow users that aren't admins to manually create or edit this app, because really it should just be SmrtPhone that's connecting to it and the system's updating it all the time. So what we want to do is make sure we change the authentication to your admin account, and then we want to add in our fields. So name, phone, address, and main record. So the main record is going to be the current cash buyer. The name is going to be name, cash buyer's name, so the name field. Phone is going to be the phone number. And then the address. So the address, with seller leads, I obviously connect the address to the address field, because when we connect SmrtPhone, you can map SmrtPhone to the address field. So when a seller rings you, it'll say something like George Clooney from 123 Hollywood Street. With cash buyers, what I like to do is similar, but so we know instantly that it's a cash buyer that's calling us, I'll just do cash buyers. So that means that when you get a call now on SmrtPhone, it'll say Will Smith from cash buyers. So you know straight away that it's a cash buyer calling you. And that's it. That's our first flow. We can then save it. Great. And then for our second flow, all I want to do is make sure we're highlighted on cash buyer created. And then I want to copy it. So we can copy. And then I'm just going to change when a new item is created to when an item is updated. I'm going to change the name to 1.0.1, remove copy of, and I'm going to change it to contact details updated. I want all of this to be the same, but I'm going to obviously remove show count, second show count, PID, and URL, and just leave the phone field, the SmrtPhone field right here. And then I can remove this block, but I want to get referenced. So we're getting the referenced contacts that we've created in the past. Contacts. It's a reverse relationship because the contact app references our buyer's app. Reverse and the main contact because that's where we added our cash buyer before. And then I want to update collected. Update the collected contacts app that we just got. Update the contacts, silent. hook event, make sure it's marked as hook event. Change it to your email. And then I just want to update the name, the phone. The address stays the same. It's always going to be cash buyers. So the name would be, again, buyer's name. And then the phone is going to be cash buyer's phone. We just want to go straight to the top. Forgot to add in our filters. And we basically want this flow to run if the cash buyer's name has changed or the cash buyer's phone has changed. Perfect. So now what this will do is if the cash buyer's name has changed or the cash buyer's phone has changed, it will strip the phone number again in case the phone's changed. And then it will update the contact that we created in our previous flow to make sure the name and the phone always matches. Perfect. And then we can save. Great. So now usually this notes log would be 1.0.2. So I just like things in order. So I'm just going to make sure that's the next consecutive one. What we're now going to do is we're going to create our follow-up trigger. So remember in the demo, I showed you can type in FU 1 week and it will then create a follow-up for 1 week time. So to do this, we can go to add new flow, and then we want a new comment. So when a new comment is added, do X. So this is going to be 1.0.3, follow up comment added. Great. And then in our filters, we're going to custom calc. And if you have the cheat sheet code, what you're looking for is, we're in the seller leads one because they're the same. If you scroll down, you'll see 1.0.3 follow-up comment trigger. So we can copy just the code from here. There's 2 here for some reason. By the time you get this sheet, there won't be. I don't know why there's duplicate, but we want the follow-up comment code. Ignore the title, just the code. Copy it and then paste it in. And as you can see, we have our tokens that we need to replace again. And it's just the triggering comment one. Triggering comment, done. Okay. For those that don't have the cheat sheet, that want maybe a simpler version, you can do simply if comment match. So if comment match, so yours would usually look like this if I remove that. So if comment match contains FU colon. So basically it will run if someone types in FU colon. If you wanted to add in, in case you wanted it to be case sensitive or not case sensitive, then you could do something like contains FU colon. So we do or, and then we can do one more that's or contains FU colon. So basically now it will run if someone types in FU all lowercase, FU with F capitalized, or FU with F and U all capitalized. But we're going to use the code from the sheet. So we'll go back with custom calc. Basically what this will do is it converts the triggering comment all to lowercase. So string to lower, all to lowercase, and it will run if someone types in follow up colon, or they type in FU colon. All right. So from there, this is a little bit of a longer flow, but stick with me. We're going to first search for items in our team members app where field members name is equal to comment creator name right here. So for every single person that's in your system, you want to make sure that you add them to the team members app. This will be really beneficial for obviously assigning them tasks, but not only that, it'll be more beneficial in the future for when you, for example, want to track more advanced KPIs. So for example, in seller leads, we have the lead manager. This is linked to the team members app. So if you want to add someone as a lead manager, you have to add them to the team members app anyway. But regardless, anyone that's using your system, you want to just make sure you add them to the team members app. what we're going to do is search for their name. And then just in case you forgot to add them to the team members app, we can do a Podio item. And we're looking for the ref team members Podio item ID. If that is equal to empty, so this basically is saying if we have not found a team member in the team members app with the matching name. So we can do, if no one's found, we'll put a comment. And the comment can just say something like, unable to find a team member with the name. And then we'll put in the comments creator name. Unable to find a team member with the name Martin Evans in the team members app. Please add them. Okay, so this is just like a reminder that we need to add them to the team members app. Then we can do end if. All right. So then from there, what we want to do is auto-complete any old follow-up tasks. Now, remember that one of my favorite features of this system is when you schedule a follow-up via one of the automated features that we have in here, it will automatically complete old follow-up tasks. So you don't have to do it yourself. So to do this, first, what we want to do is get reference items, and we're going to get reference tasks. So we can select our tasks right here, and then it'll be a reverse relationship because when we create a task, we add, say, a cash buyer to the tasks app. So it's a reverse relationship, and we're pulling from the related item field. So in our tasks app, we're basically getting all tasks that have the cash buyer as the related item right here. Okay, so once we've got them, we're then going to do a for each. I told you there'd be a lot of for eaches. So for each ref task item, we want a sanity again. So only do this, next action. So only continue if, we'll type in type. Yeah, task type is equal to follow up. So make sure you type in follow up with a capital F, everything else lowercase, capital U, and the P lowercase. This is case sensitive. So only continue if task type is equal to follow up and status. So we want the ref task status is equal to new. And actually just before this status token, we want a parentheses is equal to new or status. Again, ref task status is equal to overdue, and then close the parentheses. Just make sure that, again, it's all case sensitive, so be aware of that. And then I'm going to do end if, because obviously with each sanity, you always need an end if, and then a continue. And then in between the sanity and end if, so I've basically just closed everything out right now. Then we're going to update collected, tasks, and then we can mark this as silent, hook event, and status. Whoops, selected the wrong one. Status is equal to completed. All right, so let's just go over this. What we've done is we've got all tasks from the tasks app that reference this cash buyer. So bearing in mind, flows will run on specific cash buyers. So if I was to go into cash buyer X and type in FU 1 week, it will then run specifically for that cash buyer. So we've got all the tasks that relate to this cash buyer. And then for each of those tasks, only if the task type is equal to follow up and the status is equal to new or the status is equal to overdue, we're going to automatically complete it. Great. So once we've done that, we need another variable. And then I'm going to call this time scale. So for those that don't have the cheat sheet, I have a little bit of bad news, and that is simply that I don't have an easier way to do this for you. It's a lot of code. we're going to get this one right here. So start at foo, copy it right down to here, and then we're going to paste it in. Okay, so there's a few tokens that we need to replace. We can take this one right here. So making sure to start at the square, open of the square, and ends at the close of the square just above my mouse right here. And then we're going to remove all that. And then we're going to replace it with the correct one, which is current date and time. So current date and time. And then there's just one more, which is right here. Again, making sure to start at the opening of the square bracket and end at the close. Take your time with this. Make sure everything's exactly as my screen is. All right, and that's it. So that's all you need to do is make sure you're replacing them correctly. For those that don't have the cheat sheet code, I mean, it looks like a lot, but I think if you take your time, you'll be able to do it. Great. So once you've got that down, then we can move on with creating an item. We're going to create an item in our tasks app, which will be right here. And then from here, it's up to you. If you want them to be notified that they got a task, then leave this off. I'm going to actually leave it off and just select hook event right here. So I'm going to call it follow up with, and then we'll enter the cash buyer's name. So follow up with George Clooney or whatever. Okay, and then the status is going to be new. Go ahead and remove these two. Add a field. Related item is going to be the current cash buyer item. The assigned to is going to be the ref team members items, so the longer one. And then the due date is going to be, we need to change this value to calc. And then this is where we're going to type in var and put our timescale var variable. And then the last important thing, the way we know that it's a follow-up task that's been automatically created is we add the task type as follow-up. Perfect. And then just as a final touch, what I like to do is add in another variable and call it comment date. And then just from the code, I'm going to grab the comment date variable. Again, it's under seller leads. It's the same one we use. For those that don't have the cheat sheet and maybe have just spent all the time doing that, you don't have to do this. I'm adding it in just because we have it. But what we're going to do is create this variable and then add a comment. I'm going to make this comment bold. So we'll start it with asterisk, asterisk. And then we're going to do follow up scheduled for, and then I'm going to type in var and get our comment date and then close the asterisks. Perfect. All right, that's done. It was slightly long, but we've got there. All right, so let's go ahead and test it. What we'll do is we'll come to our cash buyers and we'll create a quick cash buyer. So we'll use Will Smith. No idea why I always use Will Smith, but whatever. Orata.io. Add in a phone number with some parentheses and all that type of stuff. That's just something random. Close it here. Okay. Then we'll add in the max buying price right here and then save. All right, so we can see that the show count, SmrtPhone, perfect. You can see it's just the last 10 digits, the PID, and the URL has been added. Great. And then if we refresh, what we'll see is a contact has been created. So the contact has been created, Will Smith, and the phone number. So let's go ahead and change the name, my other go-to, and then we'll change the number. We'll change 342. We'll just change it to 123. All right, perfect. So now we'll scroll back right down. George Clooney. We can see the numbers updated, and so has the contact. Great, so that's working perfectly. Now what we can do is we can test our follow-up. So we'll do follow-up 1 week. Let's just go down to the tasks so we can see it all happen. Great, so we got follow-up with George Clooney, 1 week time, assigned to Martin Evans. We can click through to the task, and we can see it's assigned to me, related item. Task assigned to, actually, this should be hidden now. We're finished with that. If yours is still showing, go ahead and hide it. Always hidden. Done. All right, perfect. Let's go back to our related item. Go back to George Clooney. And then, now, just in case yours showed up for some reason as January 1st, and it was 1970 or 1969, that means there's an error in your code, in your timescale code. So you want to just double check over this and check that yours looks exactly like mine. Make sure, basically, yeah, they're identical. All right, so that's all looking great. So the next thing to do is, let's just test if we schedule another follow-up. Does the old follow-up complete? We'll do 1 month. Yes, the old one's completed and the new one's been added in. Great. So it's working perfectly. Now, the last flow of this Cash Buyers app is if the next follow-up date, which is this next follow-up date right here, is updated, then we want to basically do the same thing. Now, have some bad news, and that is we can't just copy the flow because of you can't change a comment flow to a when an item is updated flow, unfortunately. So we have to redo it. So let's just do it really quick. We've done it once. Let's just do it again. So when an item is updated, we'll add in a name. Do 1.0.4 next follow update field updated. I'm gonna find our next follow update. If next follow update has just changed, and we'll do a custom calc. We'll do find next follow update. Next follow update is not equal to blank. All right, so we don't want it to run if there's no value on it. All right, and the rest is the same. I'm going to kind of go through it, but you can follow along. So first we do our search. Search for items in our team members app, where field members name is equal to, and instead of doing comment creator, we want to do revision creator name. And then we do our sanity again. Podio item ID, so ref members Podio item ID is empty. I'm going to close it, and then in between it, add a comment. I can't be bothered typing it back out, so I'm going to go ahead and go back into our Cash Buyers app, open our one that we just created, and just go ahead and copy it. Copy it, and then remove comment creator name to revision creator name. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll get our referenced tasks again, reverse relationship, related item for each ref task. I'm going to continue. I've got into the habit of when I do a continue or a sanity, I kind of close them straight away. So it gives me, I don't know, I feel like I can see it better, especially if there's a lot of them. So sidetrack there. So if task type is equal to follow up, and then we want status equal to new, or status equal to overdue. Close the parentheses. Oh, just realized there's a mistake there. We need the and after follow up. Perfect. And then we want to update collected tasks silent hook event status is updated to completed. And what you can also do is comment on collected. You can do this for the other one as well if you want to, the one we just created before. But what I sometimes do is comment on it, make sure the comment's silent, and then just so we know, auto completed due to future follow up being scheduled. Close this one. Okay, cool. So auto completed due to future follow up being scheduled. All right, and then from there we can create item again in our tasks app. Well, unmark it. Follow up with, and then we'll put name. Remove these bottom two. I like to do it in order of the app. So new related item is the current item. Assigned to will be the team members items. Due date is, and then now we don't need our complex code. All we need is the next follow-up date field right here. And we want to make sure again the task type is equal to follow-up. All right, camera just shut off then. Okay, so the next step is simply to add one more variable, which will be our comment date variable again. We can copy this one. We'll call it comment date. And then the only thing we want to do differently is instead of timescale, we want to remove those and just add in next follow-up date start. Whoop. So I'll go ahead and just copy that. And then I will paste it here and paste it here. Okay, cool. And then the last thing is to add the comment. Just follow up. And then we add in our variable. And we can put asterisks at the beginning and at the end to make the comment bold. All right. I would make the comment silent just so it doesn't add a notification, but again, it's up to you. Let's give it a test, save it, go back to our cash buyer, and we'll update the next follow-up date. We'll say the 18th at 12 before I, okay. And then I'll go down to the tasks. There we go. Where is it? Task. So we can see the comment and we have the task, and the old task was automatically completed. All right, perfect. That is the Cash Buyers app done. So we've only got 2 more apps to do. We're very close. And then we'll connect SmrtPhone, but I'll do that in a separate video and I'll give you the A to Z of SmrtPhone. All right, but let's move on to the Offers app. All right, first things first, as always, we want a when an item is created flow. New offer record added. You can see I really don't have a naming convention for the new one. The new record added flow can be whatever. And then what we want is we want to get reference seller leads, because every offer record will have a seller lead attached to it. It's a forward related lead. So in our Offers app, we have modified template. We have a field related lead. this is the one we're going to be pulling the seller lead. Okay, and then first we're going to update some items of the offer record. So we're going to update the offer PID, the offer URL, wrong field. The Offers app also has a show count for notes. We can find it right here under Create a Task. And we just want to add the created on date right here. So current date and time, show counts defaulted to 10. And then the Podio item ID. We want the offer Podio item ID. And then the URL, make sure we're selecting the URL link to item, offer URL link to item. Okay, I will mark those as silent. And then what I want to do, we collected the seller lead up here. And what I want to do is simply comment on that seller lead. Just to make navigating around easier, we're going to just put a comment on the seller lead, giving a link to this item basically. So we can do bold, offer record created, and then asterisk again, we'll do go to offer record, close the square brackets, open parenthesis, then we can do URL. We want the URL link to this item, again, the same field that we've added here, close the parentheses and close the asterisk. So basically it's going to add a comment to the seller leads, giving them the option to navigate to this record. Okay, I'm going to mark this as silent. You can do as you please, and we will save it. All right, perfect. The next thing I want to do is make sure that if we update the address field, so we're going to be sending contracts from the Offers app. So if we update the address field because it's slightly incorrect for our contract, we want that address field to also update the seller lead. So we'll do address field updated. So we're just making sure everything matches always. Address field updated. So we'll do if property address field has changed. Then again, we're going to get the reference items, seller leads, forward, related lead, update collected, seller leads, silent. We'll want to put a hook on this one, so it updates our contact record. We want to update property address with offers property address. All right, perfect. So we'll save that. Okay, the next one we're going to do is we're going to now create the flow that generates the contract. So we'll do 1.0.3 generate purchase contract. Okay, this one is slightly long and a bit complicated, but it'll be worth it because with a click of a button, we'll be generating contracts. So we're going to do, if we scroll down, we have a purchase contract actions here. So if purchase contract actions has just changed and purchase contract actions is equal to generate purchase contract, then we want to do some actions. So we're going to do, first we're going to get our seller lead record again. We're always pretty much referencing that. And this is where our settings app comes in. So we want to search for items in settings where field record ID is equal to 1. So when you create a settings record, basically you should only ever create one, and you should just update this settings record as you need. Because when you create one, it's going to auto-populate the record ID as 1, and that's just what we search against. And this is where things like your name used on contract are going to be collected from, and the seller face and email. So let's go ahead and continue. So now we want a variable, and we're going to call this variable empty fields. This variable is basically going to check that every single field we need for our contract is present so that we can continue creating our contract. So if we go to our cheat sheet code we're going to scroll down and we'll see offers app flows and the empty fields variable. We're going to copy it. Make sure we get all of it. And then we're going to add it in. Okay, so this is quite a long one, and it's the best way to check that all the fields are there before we actually generate the contract. For those that aren't using the cheat sheet, there really isn't a better way to do this. What I can do for you, and if you've got the cheat sheet, you don't need to do this, but they're basically in segments right here. So as long as you copy each one by one and make sure everything's correct, you'll be good to go. Okay, so for those with the cheat sheet, we just need to replace some fields. So first, we're going to replace the property address, the offers property address. So we'll type in property, and we want the first one. So property address. Then we want the legally described as. So we can remove that one and type in legally described as. Then we want the seller's full name. So we'll type in full. And we're collecting this from the related seller record right here. Then we want the seller's email address. So we'll remove that. Type in email. We'll get the seller's email address. Then we want to also replace this URL link to item. So we'll grab this, making sure to start at the square bracket and end URL. So we want the ref seller lead URL link to item. Perfect. We want to do the same right here as well. Make sure we're getting this one right here. And we'll put the same field in. This is just basically giving, if this field is empty, simply click the comment and it will navigate you to the seller lead. It's all kind of just making things a little more user-friendly. Okay, so then we're going to replace the name used on contracts, name used, and this is where we're pulling from our settings app. So if you haven't added a name used on the contracts in your settings app, it will throw an error. And again, we want to replace this ref settings URL. So making sure we're getting everything there, URL, and we want the ref settings URL link to item. Then we're going to get the parcel ID. So again, remove that. Type parcel ID. Then we're going to get the purchase price. Remove that. Purchase price. Then we're going to replace the earnest money. Type in earnest money. Offer close within. These are all fields that are in our contract. I'm going to type in X and it should come up. Yeah, close within X days of signing. So these are all fields that are in our contract that we basically can't generate our contract without them. So it just makes sure no mistakes happen. We can do expiration date. We want just the top one right here. Then, are we done? Yes, I think that's everything. Yeah, perfect. So that's all done for us. Now we can continue. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to save this. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in a offer. I'm just going to populate it there. Just so if there's no item in the app, it just says there's no sample items. But as you can see, everything's working as it should. Let's run our variables. Great. What I'm going to do, we've saved it once, so what I'm going to do is generate it and see how it looks. Generate purchase contract. Wait for the comment. We didn't actually add the comment action. So just for testing, I'm going to add the comment. I know it's going to be empty, so I will save that. Unselect this, and then add the comment. Perfect. All right. So all of this is looking great. All right. So from here, we'll go back into the flow, and we want to add in a sanity check. So if var empty fields is not empty, add the comment and if. So we're basically saying if one of these fields returns empty, we're going to add that comment and basically not generate the contract. So we can add in another sanity check, copy this, and just remove the exclamation mark and add in an equal. So we're now going to, if the field is empty, we're going to now generate our contract. First things first, I'm going to delete files. I'm going to delete all files, and the pattern I'm going to use is sales and purchase contract.pdf. So sale and purchase contract.pdf. So I can get that and copy it in here. What we're doing is, if you've already generated a contract in the past and you want to now generate a new one, we don't want to have a lot of different contracts in our record. So we first delete the one we previously generated, and then before we generate a new one. Okay, perfect. Now we need some variables. The first one is going to be a page break, so the contract format's a bit nicer. To do that, all we're going to do is quote left facing arrow, page break, space, close. So it's basically left facing arrow, page break, slash, right facing arrow, and then we close our quote out. The next thing we want is, we want 3 space. And just really important actually, make sure this B is not capital. So when I'm typing in these variables now, make sure that they are all exactly as I type them, because I've sent you the purchase contract template. So when you upload it, it's going to automatically recognize these variables, but only if you make sure the names of them are exactly as I have them here. Okay, so next, the 3 space is simply going to be and N, B, S, P, semicolon. What we can do is copy it, paste, paste. So we want it in there 3 times and then close our quote out. The next variable we want is going to be called names, exactly like this. And you can grab this one from the cheat sheet code and then just replace these. So we want to replace second seller's full name, and we want to replace second seller's email address, and then we want to replace, again, we want seller, so we're going in our seller's full name, and we need to then replace our second seller's full name, and then here we just need to replace, again, seller's full name. Okay, so just double check that. Then we need another variable. This one we're going to call name used on, capital O, contract. So name used on contract. Make sure it's exactly the same. And then we can get our name. This is where our settings app comes in. So name used on contracts. Ref settings, name used on contracts. That's the one we want. We'll add it in there. Next. There's quite a few variables, but there's a lot of fields to fill out on the contract. So that's why it's a little bit complicated, but it'll be worth it. I keep saying that. Next one we're going to do is property address. Again, property all lowercase, and then address with a capital A. This is just called camel case. It makes the words a little bit easier to differentiate between. In here, we're going to add the property address. So just the offer property address. Again, the next one, we're going to do legally. So legally all lowercase, described, and then as. So legally described as. This is where we're going to put our legally described as token. Next, we want our parcel, all lowercase, ID, all uppercase. We're going to put parcel ID. Next, we want additional, all lowercase. And we can grab the additional from our cheat sheet, copy it in there, and just replace these. Do additional terms, optional, and then we can replace this one right here as well with the same token. So if additional terms is empty, it's going to return no additional provisions. Otherwise, it'll add your additional terms. Next, there's 5 more variables to go. Do purchase price, purchase all lowercase, price with a capital P. This one's going to be number, underscore, format. Make sure all this is lowercase. Open parentheses, float, val, open parentheses again. Add in our purchase price field. Close one parentheses, comma, 2, close the other parentheses. This is just formatting our purchase price as to 2 decimal points. So you can see if I was to come here, let's just add in a random number. You can see it returns an actual number. So yeah. All right. Next, we can copy this basically, and then remove this token. We want to put earnest money in there. And the variable name is going to be earnest money. Money with a capital M. Next, keep going. We're nearly there. 3 more. We want expiration date. Expiration date with a capital D. This one, we're going to put date, open parentheses. We're then going to do quote F, J, lowercase j, S, capital S, capital Y, close the quote, comma, space, STRTOTIME. So it's string to time, but all one word. Open parentheses, and then we're going to find our expiration date field, contract expiration date, and then close parentheses twice, 2 parentheses. Okay, perfect. Next, we're going to do close within X days. So it's close all lowercase, within with a capital Y, X, capital X, and then capital D days. Here we're just going to put our close within X days of sign-in field right here. And then our last variable is address, all in lowercase. And this one we can grab from our send field right here. So this is for a different flow. but they use the same. So just under this 1.0.4, send contract via right signature, grab this. Okay, and then we're going to do address, but this time don't select just the property address. Select property address and then addressing parentheses. Okay, so property address. Then we're going to replace this with the address one. So not the one in parentheses, just the normal property address. And then this one is going to get replaced with the address in parentheses. Okay, done. We've done all our variables. That was a lot of work. Let's save it so that we don't mess anything up and we can then go back into it. Okay, so that's saved now. We can't lose this progress. All right, so next, we're now going to check if there's one seller or if there's two sellers. So the way it works is, in our seller leads feed app, we have seller's full name, seller's email address, and then we have second seller's full name and second seller's email address. Our logic's going to be, if second seller's full name and second seller's email address both have a value, we will create a contract with two sellers on it. If second seller's full name has a value and second seller's email address does not have a value, we'll only create it with one. So in order for a contract to be created with two sellers, we're going to make sure that the full name is there and the email address is there. Because yes, we could create a contract with just the second seller's full name, but we can't send it to them without their email address. So we check both. Okay, so let's go back to our flow and then we're going to use a sanity check. So we're only going to continue. This is going to be creating a contract for one seller only. So if we're going to search for second, so if second seller's full name is equal to blank, or second seller's email address is equal to blank, now we can add our contract. So what we're going to do below here, we're going to type in PDF, make a PDF. And then the file name, remember the pattern you put in here, you go ahead and copy that. We'll put it in here, remove the asterisks from both sides of it, and then just at the beginning, we're going to put a dash, and then we're going to get our address variable. So not one of these tokens, we're going to use our address variable, not the property address, just the address. And what we also want to do is remove PDF. So this is the name of our file. This is how it looks. Address, so 123 Main Street, sale and purchase contract. We have to have it all lowercase and we have to have dashes instead of spaces. We can't create like a nicer looking file name, unfortunately. This is just how it has to look. Now, to make sure that you know that this is correct, what you can do is put .pdf right here, copy it, all of this, remove .pdf again, and then, so you know that the file will delete, in that delete current item file, you can remove everything there, put your two asterisks, and copy it in. That's just a way of knowing that it's definitely correct, but I'm sure you did it correct the first time. Now, the next thing we want to do is change these margins from default to custom, and we're going to do 10 at the top, then 15, 20, and 20. Perfect. So now we can go ahead and add in the template that we should have got via email. If for some reason you haven't got it, then we can go here, go back to our template, and if we hit Get Purchase Contract Template, it'll take us to a page where we can add in our details again, and it'll send us the template again. So once you've got it via email, it will look like this. So your email will look like this, and when you click it, it'll bring you to this folder where you have a one seller purchase contract template and a 2-seller purchase contract template. Right now, we're working on the 1-seller purchase contract template. So what we'll do is we'll open this up, we'll press Control and A to basically select everything. Whoop, don't know what happened then. If you can't do Control and A for some reason, then just make sure everything's selected. We can then copy it, come back to our flow, and then we want to hit this source code here. So we can select here, and then it'll bring up this pop-up. We copy everything in, and then hit save. From here, we can just save it, make sure everything's working correctly. We'll check for errors. So if we now go down, we can see that all of our tokens, as long as we've spelled everything correctly and capitalized everything correctly, it's all added in for us. So we have our contract right there. So from here, we can just go end if. And now we want to do our 2-person contract. So what we'll do is we'll add in another sanity, and then we'll do if second seller's full name is not empty, and second seller's email address is not empty. We'll pull up our PDF again. Then we can just copy and paste the file name into here. Add in our margins, 10, 15, 20, 20. Go to our source code again. And this time, we can close this out, get our second one, Control A, copy everything, come back to our flow, paste it in. There we go. Let's save it again. Just like to save it to make sure everything stays there, basically. Okay, we've put a lot of work into it, so we don't want to lose everything. Okay, perfect. So now I can put end if. From here, we're just going to check if there was any errors. To do that, we use a sanity check, and there is a built-in function called globiflow most recent error. So we can add that. And we're going to say if errors is equal to blank, so there was no error, and we can update item, and we're going to just update the status to ready for contract. I'll mark it as silent, and I'll mark it as hook, and then end if. Our next sanity is going to be if there is an error. So if for some reason there was an error, we can do error is not equal to empty. Then we want to comment, and we'll just do error generating purchase contract, all in bold. And then I will put the error token under it, so it'll just show you exactly what the error is. End if, and then end if. That's this flow done. So we've done a lot of variables, a lot of code, but now we can save it and we can test it. So I'm going to first close this down. We don't need this anymore, and we don't need this. So let's go in here. And then first things first, we'll go to the offer record that we created earlier on, and we'll fill out all of the fields. So I'm just going to fill out 1, 2, 3 Main Street. I'm just going to put anything here. I'm just going to move quickly. Boop. I'll leave that blank, unselect it, and then select it again. Let's see. So we can see that the purchase contract has been added. So let's go ahead and do a refresh. Scroll right down to the bottom, and then we can see it here. Hopefully everything looks good. Yes, perfect. Looking good. So we now have a contract built into our system that we can generate with a click of a button. Great. So now let's go ahead, and we want a comment. So when this contract is added, we don't want to have to refresh and then scroll to the bottom. We want just a link. So to do that, we can come back here, and what we'll do is new flow, And then we want, when a file is uploaded, 1.0.4 purchase contract added. And then what we want is, there's going to be two different types of purchase contracts being added. There's going to be one when we generate and one when we sign. Because once the purchase contract is signed, because we're going to send it via right signature, potentially, if you're not going to get right signature, it's all good. But for those that are going to get right signature, when it's signed, it's going to automatically come back into the system. So we want to be notified that the contract's been signed. So what we'll do is, we'll first get reference sellers, because I want to put a comment on the seller leads as well. You don't have to, but I like to have the purchase contract signed comment on both of them. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to check the name of the file. So we're going to do string is true. So it's so basically the code is string is true. TR. So this is just going to check parentheses. We're going to get the file name, comma, open quotes, and then we go into sale and purchase contract.pdf. So this code basically means if file name contains sale and purchase contract.pdf, then what we want to do is comment. I'm just going to add this comment on the related, so on the offer record. Generated. And actually, I'm not going to square bracket there. I'm going to do square bracket here, also bold. View generated contract. And then we can type in file again, and we want the file link. There we go. I'm going to mark this as silent, and then end if. And then the next sanity we're going to do is if the purchase contract is signed. So every time a purchase contract is signed via right signature, all that will be different is after the last word, there's going to be a dash and then signed. So that's all we need to do. So now we're going to comment. I'm going to just copy this one, and I'm going to change generated to signed. And then I'm going to copy this whole comment, and then comment on collected right here. Select our seller leads and just paste it in. Great. All right, cool. I'm going to not silence this one, and then end if. Perfect. And now we can go ahead and save. Let's give it a test. I'm going to close that down. Then I'm going to unselect this. Now, remember, what should happen now is this one should be deleted, because that's how we set it up before. This one should now be deleted, and only the new one should be added. So let's generate purchase contract. And let's wait and have a look. Yes, we can see the last one's been deleted, and the new one's been added. Where's our comment? Doesn't look like it's coming. Do a quick refresh. Okay. Something went wrong. Let's have a quick look. Sale and purchase contract spelled wrong. Apologies. Fix it that. There we go. My spelling's always the hindrance. All right. Try again. Last one's been deleted. New one's been added. And we got a comment. One last change. These are kind of real-time issues. We just need to make sure that we have closed asterisks at the end. Well done for anyone that spotted that before me. All right, cool. I'm going to do it one more time. Generate. The other one's been deleted. The new one's added, and we get the comment. We can then click on it, and it takes us directly to the contract. I've just realized there's actually a small mistake. You can see that it's allowing us to generate a contract, but we've not actually entered a current offer amount. So what we need to do is quickly fix that. 2 seconds. So where we generate purchase contract, what we want to do is right at the top in our empty variable right here, instead of purchase price right here, we want to change it to current offer amount. All right, and that's it. So current offer amount and not purchase price. So then we can save. And now let's just test that that's worked correctly. So we'll unselect generate purchase contract and then we'll add. Perfect. So now when we select that, it takes us directly to the current offer amount. So let's add in our current offer amount. Now, usually you wouldn't manually create an offer record. It would be created from the seller lead record, as you'll see a little bit later on. But in this case, we created it manually, but we still want it to work correctly. So yeah, we can see now, let's try and generate again. The one's deleted, one's added, and we get the comment, and the purchase price is 0. So why is that? Let's take a look. We're debugging together. Why would the purchase price be 0? So here's the purchase price we're using. I'm going to change this purchase price to current offer amount as well. Okay, great. So let's try again. We'll come back to our record, unselect, and regenerate. These type of small issues come up all the time, and just knowing where to look, because you built the system, knowing where to look and how to fix them is going to be what allows you to keep developing your system. So it's good that mistakes like this happen because you get to see how we can fix them. Now, why did we change it to current offer amount from purchase price? Purchase price is just a calculation field, so it's just messing our code up. We just want our actual current currency field, basically, and that's the one we want to use. So you can see the new one's been generated and it's added in properly. Great. So now what we want is a flow that sends our contract via Right Signature. Unfortunately, since recording this, Right Signature's pricing has become so expensive, it wouldn't be fair for me to recommend it on a demo like this. Finding a cost-effective contract sending platform is very difficult. For example, DocuSign's normal pricing is around $25 a month if you want to send over 5 contracts. However, their API pricing, which is what you'd need to connect to Podio, is a completely different story at around $250 a month if you pay annually. It's just crazy. I really like the ability to be able to send contracts from the system, so I took things into my own hands and took on a subscription to an e-signing platform myself. So you avoid the large monthly fees, and we create a bit of a win-win situation long term. So if you click the contract integration link below, it will take you to our website where you can sign up for our integration. And as long as you want us to set you up in this system that we're currently building, you can use code YouTube-system to get the setup fee completely knocked off the price. There are a few caveats. For it to be worth my time setting up, I charge the whole year's subscription up front, but it still works out a lot cheaper than any other alternatives out there. However, if you already have an e-signature software that you are happy with, then you can just generate the contract from the system and then simply download it and move it over to the software you're already using. You'll still save a lot of time. So, sorry about that, but let's get back to the demo and continue adding some amazing features. The only final thing to do is to update the offer, to update the seller leads app if the offer status is updated. So we always want to keep the offer status and the seller status somewhat synced, so no matter what app you're in, you know exactly what stage the leads are. So let's go ahead, new flow, item updated, 1.0.7, offer status updated. And then we're just going to do if status has just changed, we're going to get reference items, seller leads, forward, related field. We're going to create a variable. It's going to be called lead stage. And then what we can do is grab our code. So we can see here 1.0.6, offer status updated. And then all we want to do, my flows are one ahead of this cheat sheet somehow, but no worries. What we want to do is lead stage. I'll probably have fixed that by the time you see it. Lead stage. So ref seller lead, lead stage. So basically what we're doing is we're saying if the offer status is equal to ready for contract, then that's what the question mark means. Then the value that we're assigning to this variable is pending purchase contract sent. If the offer status is purchase contract sent seller pending response, then purchase contract sent. So we're checking, and then if none of these values match, we're just keeping the seller leads lead stage the same. So then all we want to do is update collected seller leads. We can silent and hook event. Hook event you definitely want on. Silent optional as always. And then we just want to select lead stage. Scroll down a little bit right there. Change that to calc and then add in our variable. Perfect. All right, we're completely done now with the offer app. We've done the offers, we've done the tasks, we've done the cash buyers, we've done the team members, we've done the appointments, we've done the notes. We just have the seller leads app to do. We're so close. We've come so far. Let's just get right into it. So what I've actually just noticed is why my code cheat sheet is out of sync with these. Seems we missed a step, so let's just go ahead and change this note log to 0.0.2, and then we have a consecutive order. Again, the numbers mean nothing, it's just nice to have things in order, all right? Okay, so let's move on to the seller leads. We have 13 flows to do, but don't worry, they're relatively simple actually. So first, we're gonna, as always, start with our item created flow. Call it new seller added. Now the first thing we're gonna do is a round robin. So we want to essentially, if we have more than one researcher, so in our team members app, we have the member role of researcher. The way this is going to work is if a lead comes in and there's no lead manager assigned, then it's going to round robin through all leads with the job role of researcher and then kind of add them one by one. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is a round robin. Essentially, what we want is if a new lead comes into our seller leads and it doesn't have a lead manager assigned, we're going to round robin through all the team members with a job title of researcher and assign them one by one, essentially. If you don't like the name researcher, now's your chance to go ahead and change it. You could change it to lead manager, for example. I'm just going to leave it as researcher. And yeah, we'll just leave it like that for now. So from here, what we're doing is we're basically getting this view right here. This view is set up in a way that if we go to the sorting, we'll see it's set up last assigned oldest first. So first it's going to get Martin, and then Martin's going to go behind Orata admin. So then the next one will be Orata admin, and it's just going to kind of loop through them like that. So to do that, what we want to do is first check if lead manager has a value. So we'll do if lead manager is empty, it's equal to empty, Then we're going to get Podio view. Going to get it from our team members. Select the view. We'll select researcher and limit it to 1. So we're just collecting 1 team member. And then from there, we're going to update the item with our ref team members items. We can mark it as silent and we'll put the hook on. And then what we'll do is we'll update collected. So we're going to update collected team members. We're going to update the last assigned to current date and time. Here we can silence it, and you have to make sure the authentication, because we have user permissions off, so just make sure the authentication is your email address. Perfect. And then we can do our end if. All right, so we've now assigned a lead manager if the lead doesn't have one. The next thing we want to do is, similar to how we did it in the cash buyers, we want to now get our stripped fields. So we're going to do stripped, or we're going to do seller phone, and then we'll do second seller. Oh my god, I can't type. Phone. And then these are both going to be empty to start with. And now we're going to do a for each. So if we go and have a look in our leads, we have a seller's phone and a second seller's phone. We want to strip both of those for searching for duplicates in the future. So we've stripped them. We've created our 2 variables. Now we're going to get the first seller's phone, which is seller's phone number right here. So for each of these, going to get our variable, copy and paste the name, then add the variable in there using our dot, quote, comma, quote, dot, and then we're going to grab our seller phone variable right here. Well, actually, the seller phone variable does this bit for you as well, so you can overwrite everything there. And then we're just going to replace this. Oh, just making sure we only replace the token and don't remove anything else. Replace this with the seller's phone number. Perfect. And then we can do a continue. The next thing we want to do is a for each on our second seller phone right here. Going to add in our variable, copy and paste the name, and then we can go and grab the code directly from here. Replace this variable with our second seller phone, and then place this with seller phone number, second seller's phone number right here. Okay. And then we do a continue here as well. So we're moving a little bit quicker now. I imagine you've been at this for quite a few hours. So you're kind of used to the flow. You're used to how we create variables, I would hope, at least slightly. So yeah, we'll move a little bit quicker. Obviously, it's great still having you here. All right. So now we're going to create a variable called stripped phone. And then we're going to do trim. And then we're going to add in a variable, the seller phone variable, dot, second seller phone, comma, quotes, comma, and then close the parentheses. Okay, so we're basically combining the 2 variables now. And now from here, we can update this item. Silent, select hook event. So we'll do seller's full name. So for seller's full name, I typically like to format it. So sometimes it'll come in all in capitals or something like that. So I just like to make sure the first letter only of the name is capitalized. So to do this, we do UC words, which basically capitalizes only the first letter of the word, and then string to lower, which basically converts the whole string to lowercase, and then name. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is we're first converting the string all to lowercase, and then we're only uppercasing the first name, just in case it does all come in capitals. Next, we're going to add in our show count fields. So we have two here as well. So one is going to be for the notes and one is for the communication. So the first one, we can see it right here. So just under create a task. And then the second one is going to be more towards the bottom where the communication history is. Right here, just under communication filter. We'll default them to 10 again. Next, we have our fields right at the bottom that we have pretty much in every app. So first we'll have the created on field. Then we'll add the lead PID. Then we'll add, the screen would scroll down, lead URL under the lead PID field. Can't get the screen to go down any further. And then finally, we'll add the SmrtPhone. So that is just here. Okay, so this is going to be our variable SmrtPhone. Lead URL is going to be URL link to item. PID is going to be seller lead Podio item ID. Created on is going to be current date and time. Perfect. So from here, as I mentioned before, every type of contact, seller or buyer, needs to also be created in our contact book right here that we're going to later connect to SmrtPhone. So first we're going to create item in contacts, silent, hook event, change the authentication to your email address, name, phone, address, and main record. The name's going to be seller's full name. Phone will be seller's phone number. Address is going to be property address. And then main record, current seller lead item. What we also need to do is update this current item. And right towards the bottom, we have a first seller contact record. We're going to update this with the created contacts contact. Okay. This is because in one record, we can have two sellers. So this just helps us distinguish between both of them, basically. Now what we want to do is potentially create a second seller record if and only if the second seller phone number has a value. So the next thing we want to do is potentially create a second seller contact as well. So to do this, first what we're going to do is create a variable, and I'm going to call it numbers compared. So what this is going to do is it's going to check if the second seller does not have the same number as the first seller. So if the second seller has the same number as the first seller, we're not going to create the record. We're only going to create it if it's a unique number specific for a different contact. So if we go to our cheat sheet, we have this numbers compared variable right here. We can go ahead and copy this and paste it into here. And all we want to do is replace our tokens. So we have our second seller phone token and our first seller phone token. And that's all we need to do. So essentially what this does is it checks any phone numbers in the second seller field against phone numbers in the first seller field and basically returns only unique phone numbers. So the next thing we want to do is check if numbers compared actually has a value. So we can do if numbers compared. So we're looking for our variable is not equal to blank. So it's not empty. Now we're going to create our second seller record. So we can create, again, contacts, silent, hook event, change the authentication. Then we're going to do name, phone, address, main contact. So this one's going to be the second seller full name, second seller's phone, the property address again, and the main record is going to be current seller. So then what we also want to do is update this current item with the second seller. So the second seller contact record is going to be updated with the created contacts contact record. Okay, and we can mark that as silent and then end if. Okay, for now, that's all we're going to do. We're going to come back to this a little bit later, but we first need to create one more flow. And that's going to be, so new flow, it's going to be a manual flow, 1.0.1. We're going to check for duplicates. So to check for duplicates, it's a little complicated, but we'll make it very simple. First, what we want to do is do a HTTP call, and this is going to be called search duplicates. And then here, we're just going to put local host. We then want one more variable. We're going to copy and paste this name in here. And in here is going to be our stripped phone field. So this is where being able to strip the phone numbers and just get the last 10 digits helps us to search for duplicates, because we can guarantee every single lead has a number formatted exactly the same. So then from here, I'm just going to add in two variables, which we're going to use a bit later on. One's going to be called comment, and the other is going to be called ID. And these are both going to be just empty variables. Now what I'm going to do is for each, and then we're going to get our search duplicates variable. So for each of our stripped phone numbers, we're going to search for items in seller leads, where field, stripped phone. I can't get it to show up on my screen, but it's right at the bottom here. So stripped phone contains, then we're going to add in our search duplicates variable. Make sure to select ignore self. So basically this will make sure that when we do this search from a lead, the lead doesn't find its own record. So it only looks for other records. And then we're going to see if we found any records. So if ref seller lead Podio item ID, make sure it's ref seller lead and not seller lead. Ref seller lead Podium item ID is not empty. Then we're going to do for each one that it found. So maybe we have more than one duplicate in the system. So for each ref seller leads, for each potential duplicate that we found, we're going to for each ref seller lead item. This is where we basically create a comment to notify of potential duplicates. So we're first going to create a variable called link body. So we're going to also put a link to the potential duplicates in the comment. So from there, if we go to our cheat sheet, we can see link body here. We'll copy this and we'll paste it in here. So from here, we can replace these values. So remember, when we search, we're looking for ref seller leads property address and not just seller leads. So make sure it's ref seller leads property address. So you'll see a lot of them auto populate then. And then we've got ref seller leads full name. Again, ref seller leads full name. So we can use ref seller leads full name here. And there we go. So that's everything populated. We then create another variable and we just call it comment, so we can copy and paste this value so we can guarantee they're the same. Then if we go to our cheat sheet, you can see the comment variable. So we'll grab this and we'll paste it in here. We're replacing the first comment variable with our comment variable field. We're then going to add in our link body variable here. Link body. And then we want the ref seller lead URL link to item. So we can type in URL. And again, we're making sure we got the ref seller lead URL link to item. Perfect. From there, we just want our ID field, which is going to be ID. And then it's just going to be our ID variable. And then the ref seller leads Podio item ID. And then we do a clear collected. So we want to basically tell Podio to now ignore this one that we're looping through currently. And continue. All right. From there, we can add an end if and then another continue. All right. So let's have a look. We are, for each of our stripped phone fields, so stripped phone numbers, we're searching the seller leads. If we find one, and there's just one step that I've actually forgot to do, and that is we actually need to put this clear collected under our first continue, and then we need one more sanity, which is going to go just under here. So we want a sanity here. And then just below our ID field, we're going to put the end if. So we've moved our clear collected down under the first continue, and then we've added an end if under the ID, and we've added another sanity. And what we're going to do is check, string is true, check that the ID field doesn't contain ref seller leads Podio item ID. And we need an exclamation mark. All right, so sorry for the bit of confusion. It's a slightly confusing setup in terms of what we're essentially doing is we're looping through each stripped phone number that this lead has. And then we're finding seller leads that could contain it. But one seller lead could have two of our stripped phone numbers. But we don't want to add a comment for each one of those leads. We just want to add it for one. That's why we're checking that the ID field doesn't already contain the lead we found. So we don't want to double comment, basically. It's a little bit confusing, I know, but yeah, as long as your setup looks exactly like this, I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it all. As long as it looks exactly like this, then you're good to go. All right. So the final thing we need to do is check if we found any. So basically we're going to do if our comment variable is not empty, we're going to add a comment, and it's just going to be possible duplicate leads / duplicate sellers found. And then under that, we're just going to put our comment variable. Okay, so we're essentially saying that there might be some duplicate leads in your system, or it might just be a seller that has two properties. So this is where the person can click the link and check it out. And then we just need to end if. Okay, and now save. Done. All right, so we can come back to our first flow. And here, we're just going to do a quick sanity that is if our stripped phone variable is not empty, we're going to trigger flow on this item end if. Okay, good, done. Let's test it out. So what we can do is we can come to our seller lead. And what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to come here and I'm going to clone it. So if I clone it, we'll see that the number is exactly the same. So let's save it and see what happens. So I've cloned it. See a record's being created. Are we going to find a duplicate? We didn't find one. What happened? Come back here. If SmrtPhone is not empty, trigger the flow. Let's see. SmrtPhone field. So the flow was triggered. Let's take a look at our check for duplicates flow. Gonna do a quick simvars here. So search for duplicates, comments blank. It didn't find any. Why did it not find a matching one? SmrtPhone contains. Do you know why it won't work? It's because the reason it won't work is because we've actually not, I don't think when we created this first lead that we created a while ago, our SmrtPhone field wasn't updated because we hadn't already created that flow. So let's test it again. We'll go back to the one that we've just created, which is this clone, and we'll clone it again. So clone, save. Now let's see again. All right. And we get a comment. So now what should happen is if we clone this one again, we should get 2 line items. So let's clone it, save, and we get 2. Perfect. So it's working perfectly. One other thing we can do is we can press clone and we'll just test that both of our first and seller records get created. So let's just type in second. We'll just type in second test here. And I'm just going to put a random phone number, whatever, and then save it. So what we should see happen is first seller contact record gets created, and we should hopefully see that a second one gets created. Don't see it just yet. Let's modify template and we can go down, because sometimes it doesn't always show it didn't get created by the looks of it. Let's do a refresh. So it got created here. It just didn't seem to add it to our second seller contact record field. Let's have a quick look. We have an error. Okay. So the reason for our error is that we've selected this created contacts record. Now, in the second seller field, it only allows one value. So what we need to do instead of using this is we need to change it to calc and add in created Podio item ID. Okay, so now we can save this. And then when we go back here, we'll clone this, get all of our duplicates showing up. Second seller's been added this time. Okay, so I'll show you why. This happens quite a lot. Like I see this question posted in the forum a lot, where you get an error that looks something like what we got, where it doesn't allow multiple values. That is because if you have a relationship field or a category field, you have the option of multiple references or only one. In this case, we always just want only one. So we have to use the token instead of the built-in feature, because if we use the built-in feature, it tries to add seller 1 and seller 2 to our record, whereas we just want to add seller 2. All right, so that's that sorted. We have everything here. We've now got 4 duplicates in our system, but at least we know. We can now move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. So we can copy. We want to copy the first one. So what we're going to do with this one is just update our contacts if contact details have updated. So if we change a name, we change a phone, we want to update the created contacts we've created in the contact book. So we'll call this, this will be 1.0.2, and it'll be seller contact details updated. All right. We can remove the lead manager flows. So we just want to remove everything until the first end if. We'll keep all of this, but we're going to remove this, 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 and this. So we're basically just leaving the stripped phone. We then want to, here, instead of creating a new one, we're going to get the reference contacts, and we're going to specifically get it from our forward reference, specifically get it from our first seller contact record. We're going to remove this, and then instead we're just going to update the collected contacts, name, phone, address. So we're going to update the name here. Whoop. Going to update the name, would be seller's full name. Phone is going to be seller's phone number, and address is going to be our property address. We'll mark it as silent, hook event, and remember to change our authentication. What we can do as well, just while we're here, is add our filters. So we want to do if seller's full name has changed. Oh, that's not a changed one. If seller's full name, we need to change this as well. Up here, change it to when an item is updated. So we're going to do when a field is changed, if seller's full name has changed, or seller's phone number has changed, or second seller's full name has changed, or second seller's phone number has changed, or the property address has changed. Making sure to change these ands to or. Perfect. All right, so if the name has changed, we're going to update our first contact. Now what we can do is we can also check if we need to update our second contact. Now, keep in mind that we might not have created a second contact at this point. Maybe we've just added a second seller's phone number, so we need to actually create a second seller potentially. But let's check. So all of this can stay the same right here. We're going to remove this. So we're not going to check for duplicates a second time. And then, so here we're potentially creating one, but we need to add in and second seller contact record is empty, is equal to blank. So basically we're checking if this has a value, then we will continue, but we'll only continue if we've not already created a second seller contact. Okay? And then below this, we can do sanity. If second seller contact record is not empty, then we're going to clear the collected items. So we want to clear collected contacts. So we previously collected our first seller. So we don't want to update the same contact again. So we're going to clear that collection, and then we're going to collect our second seller. So get reference items, contacts, forward, and making sure this time to select our second seller contact record. All right, and then we're going to update collected, contacts, silent, hook event, change the authentication, name, phone, and address. So we'll do name, would be second seller's full name, phone will be second seller's phone number, and property address. And then we can end if. Great. So basically what we're doing here is when a phone number potentially is updated, we're updating our stripped phone field. Then we're updating the first contact. So we're always going to create a first contact straight away. So we're updating that record. Then we're checking if we need to either update or create a second seller. All right, let's test it out. So if we come into this lead, we can update the phone number. I'm just going to put 444. So we're updating only the seller's phone number this time. So we can see the stripped phone field is updated. Let's do a refresh so we can see our contacts. All right. So we can see our second seller has now updated. Perfect. First seller, sorry, has now updated. Okay. And then let's change this to, we'll do 321 Main Street. Now what we should hopefully see is both the second seller and the first seller addresses have changed. 321, 321. Perfect. Everything seems to be functioning exactly as we'd hope. Let's go back to our flows. We'll close these tabs that I just opened. And what we can do now is go to our cash buyers and just grab this flow right here. So we can copy this into our seller leads. Copy. So essentially this is going to be exactly the same. Follow-up comments added. All of this can be the same. The only thing we want to change is follow-up with we'll change this to, we'll create a quick variable, call it address. And the variable we're going to use is if we go up a little bit, we're looking for the one right here, this address variable right here. So we're going to copy and paste this, copy, paste. So we're replacing this right here with the property address with the address in parentheses. And then we're going to replace this token here with the address without parentheses. Perfect. So we're just going to do follow up with var address. So we're just saying follow up with 123 Main Street, for example. And then everything is going to be exactly the same here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and test that. We'll come here. Let's navigate to the tasks section so we can see it happen in real life. Follow up 1 week. And everything updates as we'd expect. Perfect. Now what we can do is we can go back to the cash buyers and we can copy this one as well. So copy. And we're copying it into seller leads. Now what we want to do is change this to quick schedule follow up selected. So this flow is going to be, if we change one of these values, so we have this field here where you can quickly select 1 week, 1 month, and it'll create a follow-up for us. At the moment, nothing will happen because we need to make the automation. So what we'll do is we'll do if quick schedule follow-up has just changed, and I could have just left that calc field there, and quick schedule follow-up is not empty, then we can leave all of this the same. The only thing we want to do is create 2 variables here. So we want our address variable again. We'll go ahead and grab that right now. Exact same one. We can replace these, just as we did before. And then, if we go back to our cheat sheet code, can see we have our quick schedule follow-up flow here. We want our follow-up date variable right here. So grab this and paste it into here. We'll call it follow-up date. And all we need to do, if yours didn't auto-populate, it should have, but if in case it didn't, replace this token right here. And then we want to replace this token here with current date right here. And then we can replace our token with our variable, just as we did before. And all we need to do is, instead of this due date being next follow-up date, we change it to calc var, and we select our follow-up date variable, so this one that we've just created. And then down here, we replace all of these tokens with our follow-up date variable as well. Perfect. We save it. So now, hopefully, if I come here and change this to a 2-week follow-up, the task gets completed and a new one gets added. Then we can copy one more flow. We're going to go back to our cash buyers. We'll copy this one again. Copy. And this one's pretty much going to stay exactly as it is. We're going to change the number to 1.0.6. And then we're going to, just as we did before, all of this is the same. We're just going to add in our address variable one more time. Grab it from here. Oh, I've copied this into the cash buyers. Apologies. So we're copying it into the seller leads one. Sorry. Copy. Paste it into our seller leads. Copy. Now we just need to change a few more things. We're going to remove all of this. Change this to 1.0.6. And then the only thing we need to do is come down here. Add in our address variable one more time. Grab it from here. And add it into here. So just in case you're wondering why we need this address variable, the reason is similar to what I said before about the city. If your address is not formatted correctly in a Google recognized way, it won't actually find the address. So things look a little bit cleaner if it's just 123 Main Street instead of 123 Main Street, Florida, and the postcode and all that. So we're creating a variable that will essentially get the address field, and if it's not empty, it'll use it. So if it's formatted in the Google correct way, it will use it. However, if it's not formatted correctly, then it's going to just get everything before the first comma in your address, which is typically going to be correct. So there we go. So we get 123 Main Street, and then we replace this with our variable. All right, and everything else looks good. So we can save this, come back to our lead, and give it a test. Let's say 12. All tasks completed. Perfect. Everything's working as it should. Now, the next thing we want to do is create an appointment. So in our appointment section right here, if we use our navigation, we can see set appointments. So here, we want to basically, with a click of a button, create an appointment in our appointments app, which is right here. So at the moment, nothing happens, but we can change that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another flow, new flow, when an item is updated, 1.0.7, create appointments. All right. And then we're going to do if our we're looking for create appointment. If our create appointment field has changed and it's equal to push to calendar, first we want to check that who's going on the appointment is filled out and the appointment date is filled out. Those are mandatory fields. So what we'll do is we'll do a sanity. We'll do if who's going on the appointment is equal to blank, or, so if we do this pipe here, it's or date. We'll look for appointment date is equal to blank. Then we're going to add a comment saying error creating appointments going on appointment and appointment date must have a value. Perfect. And if. Then we'll do one more sanity. I'm going to copy and paste this. And I'm just going to, thought that would autofill, add that back in. And then you want to change this to if who's going on the appointment is not empty, and then remove this, and appointment date is not empty, then we can create an item. Create item. Hopefully you're starting to see some kind of pattern on how things are set up, really. Then we can create an item in appointments, silent, hook event. And then I'm just going to remove these fields. I like to add them in myself. So the lead is going to be current seller lead. The appointment date is going to be our current appointment date. So seller lead appointment date. Property address, we'll add in our property address. Then the who set appointment is going to be the item reviser. So it's basically who clicked create appointment. Then we've got going on appointment. This is going to be our seller lead who's going on appointment. Then we'll take appointment notes, because we do have an appointment notes field, but it's optional. You don't have to add appointment notes. Notes, appointment notes. Then we got anything else? Appointment status is going to be pending. And then go in name is going to be name. And it'll be who's going on appointment name. Then we're going to update this current item, silent. And we're just going to unset our values. So, for example, when we create an appointment, this will have a value, this will have a value, and this will have a value. But for next time we come to this lead, we want them not to have a value anymore. And so it's much easier for the next person to create another appointment if you need to. So we'll unset it. So who's going on appointment? And appointment date. And appointment notes. It's going to be unset. So we'll just unset, unset, unset. And then end if. And then we just need to unset one more field. So we'll update item. And then we want to get our create appointment field and unset that as well. The reason why I don't do it here is because we want this field to essentially be unset if there's an error or an appointment being created. So what you could do is mark it as a hook event and not mark it as silent, so you can see what I mean right on the screen. So let's save it and give it a test. So when we come to our record, close this field. So when we come to our set appointment area here, if I hit push to calendar now, we get an error. Going on appointment and appointment date must have a value. And our create appointment field has been updated. It hasn't happened on the screen, but you can see it did get updated right here. So when we add in who's going on the appointment, and we add in the appointment date, let's say it's the 17th, we'll do 1 p.m. Push it to the calendar. We can see the appointment scheduled. We get a link to the appointment. Don't forget we did this already when we created our appointment flows. So we get a link to the appointment and our calculation field updates. And now if I was to refresh, so let me go ahead and refresh the screen. Go back down to set appointment. Now if I select another person to be going on the appointment, that's at 2. Push to calendar. Another one's being created and our table gets updated here. Perfect. If I go down to tasks, I have the option, so I have a create a task field here. It gives me the option to manually create a task. So if I come down, I have the option to create a new item. So I'll select that. And I can do, this is a test, related item. I'll select anything because I'll show you why. Usually, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it this way. So assign it to, and then due date. Save. So, and then I'll add it here. So remember that I just added the related item as any item. I added the wrong item. So we're going to put in a correction for that. And when it's updated, we're going to automatically remove this value as well because our tasks all show up in this table. So let's do that. I'm going to close these other windows we have open. We only need one PWA window open. And then we're going to do 1.0.9. 1.0.9 task added. So we'll do if. We're going to find our task field, create a task right here, create a task title. If the field is just changed, and we want to get reference items, tasks, forward, create a task. So we only want to collect tasks that are directly in this field. We don't want to collect any that reference this item, only ones that are directly in this field. So then what we can do is we can come here, update collected, tasks, mark it as silent, related item, and then current lead. So we're basically just making sure if someone made the mistake and accidentally put the wrong lead, we correct it with the right lead. Then I want to update item. So I'm updating this item now, our current lead item. Find our create a task field right here and unset it, mark it as silent. So you see here, I haven't done our typical custom calc and then done if create a task is not empty, because we don't need this to do this right now, because when we unset it here, we haven't marked hook. So it's not going to re-trigger this flow. So remember, when you select hook event, it triggers other flows if there are other flows to be triggered. We're not going to select hook, so we don't need this. Okay, so we're done with this one. The next feature we're going to work on is our offers section. So in the offers section, we want to be able to put in an amount here, log offer, and it automatically creates our offer record. But what we also want to happen is, if we've once created the offer record and we put in a different offer amount and log offer again, we don't want to then create a second offer record. Each seller lead should always only have one offer record. So we don't want to create a second one. We simply want to update the one we have. So this is where you have to kind of make a choice yourself in terms of whether you allow non-admin members to manually add an offer here. If you want to, leave everything the same. If you don't want to, and I somewhat recommend you don't, just because having multiple offer records really can create confusion. And if a team member comes in here and adds an offer record, they can quite easily add a second offer record for one lead. So what I would do is come to the wrench, app settings, advanced, and select don't let members add items to this app, and then hit save. So now, any team members that are in your system won't be able to manually create a record. They have to do it via the automation, which is, in my opinion, the better way. So for that, what we want to do is we'll come here, new flow. When an item is updated, do 1.0, move this down a bit, 1.1.0. Sorry, we've now moved on to the next level of numbers, log offer selected. Okay. Then we're going to find our offer action. If offer action has changed and offer action is equal to log offer, what we're going to do is first we're going to check, have they put in an offer amount? So if offered amount is equal to blank, we're going to comment error logging offer, offered amount must have a value, all in bold, and then end if. Then we're going to do if offered amount is not equal to blank, so they have put in an offer amount, we're going to get referenced offers. So here we're checking whether one's already been created. So we get referenced offers, reverse related lead. So from here we're going to do if Podio item ID. So basically, if when we did this get referenced offers, if we found one, so we want to do is not equal to blank, we want to just update. So we want to update collected offers, silent, and then we're going to do current offer amount, or we'll do, current offer amount is offered amount, and then we want to do last offer date is current date. All right, and then we can end if. Just before or just above here, so just above our sanity, we actually want two variables to use later. Reviser and another variable. We'll call it offered amount. So reviser, we're going to put in the revision creator name, and then offered amount, we're going to convert our offered amount field into a number, so it displays nicer as we're going to use it in a comment later. So we'll do number format. We've used this code before. Number format, open parentheses, float val. So float and then val, it's one word. Open parentheses again. Get our offered amount token. Close the first parentheses, comma, 2, and then we want to close our second parentheses. Okay, so you can see it's just formatting the number to 2 decimal points. If you didn't want 2 decimal points, you can remove the comma 2, and it will remove it. But I like to have it with 2 decimal points. I think it looks just a little bit neater. All right. So then we're going to do one more sanity, and we're going to do if Podio item ID. So if our ref offer Podio item ID is empty, meaning it's the first time we've actually logged an offer. So if it's empty, we're going to create an item in our offers app, silent hook event. So you can see, because we put those restrictive permissions, the team members aren't able to manually create it. We need to change the authentication to your email address. Now we have the related lead. we're going to put it as our current seller lead item. Then the lead manager is just going to be the seller leads lead manager. Status will be offer submitted. Then we're going to here, because it's the first time creating our offer, the initial offer date, the initial offer amount, the last offer date, and the current offer amount is all going to be filled out. So the initial offer date is going to be current date, initial offer amount is going to be offered amount, last offer date will also be current date, and the current offer amount is also going to be offered amount. We're then going to add in our property address, will be the property address from here. So the seller leads property address. Then there's just one more field, and it's the parcel ID. If we have a parcel ID value here, we're going to push it over as well. Then we're going to also update this current item, and we're going to automatically update the status, lead stage, to informal offer submitted, waiting to hear back. And we'll mark it as silent. So don't forget, when at the beginning I said, keep all of the lead stages names the same. That's because a lot of the time, for example, if you were to change the name of this, you might have to come in here and just check it's still synced up. It might be, but for example, if you did when lead stage, or if you changed this here, so you said, I don't want it to say log offer. So you go into the template and change it to push to offers or whatever. You would then have to come back in here, do a refresh from Podio, and add in the new field. Even though you just updated the name, it won't recognize the token anymore. So you'll have to come in here and select it. That's why I said just keep everything the same. But now you've built it yourself, so you know what things trigger what, hopefully. So that way, if you do make any changes, you know where to come now. So, okay, finishing this off, we then just need an end if. Then we're going to update the current item. So whether we create a offer for the first time or update a current one, we want to update this item. Offered amount. We want to update also the offer action. We're going to update both of them to unset, mark it as silent. And then I'm going to add a comment. I'm going to put it in bold again. Offer of, and then we're going to use our variable offered amount field. Offer of logged by, and then we're going to use our variable reviser field. Close our asterisks, and then end if. Okay, so this is going to say offer of 34,000 logged by Martin Evans. So let's save it and test it all out. So we can come here, and I will remove all these values, and then let's go ahead and we'll add something in. So 3 million log offer. Offer of 3 million logged by Martin Evans. We can see the value shows here, this updated, and we get a link to our offer record. Maybe what we also want to do is put in a $sign. So what we can do is come here and just add simply a $sign before this amount. So if we now refresh the page, and we can try, we'll add in, or we'll just select log offer without adding in a value. Perfect, we get our error. So now let's go ahead and add in a value. Before we select log offer, let's go to the offer record that was created, and we should see that all of these values are essentially the same at this point. But if we go back to our related lead, go to the offer record, now we'll log 34,000. We should see This changes to 34,000. And our comment now contains a comma. Perfect. That's all working great. All right, next one. We've literally just got 3 more to do and your whole system's done. It's amazing that you've made it this far. So let's go ahead and continue. So what we're going to do now is just make sure that if we change our property address in our seller lead record, it syncs with our offer record. So we can come here, new flow. When an item is updated, 1.1.1 property address updated. So for this, we're going to do if property address has just changed, and we're going to add in a custom calc, and we're going to check that it's actually a person that's changed it and it's not happened via automation. For example, we have a flow in offers that automatically updates the property address. What we want to essentially do, so for example, the offer app updates the property address field via automation. It will say that the revision creator name is seller leads. Any automation is always going to be the revision creator name is seller leads. So we don't want this flow to run if it was automatically updated. We only want it to run if an actual human has updated it, basically. So we're going to do, if the value has changed, we're going to get referenced items, offers, reverse, related lead. We want a sanity check. We want to do Podio item ID, ref offer Podio item ID is not empty. So we want to check that an offer record actually exists for this lead. If it does, we want to update collected offers with the property address, and the property address is going to be the seller leads property address. Perfect. Silent. We don't need that as a hook event. End if. And that's it. Save. Just 2 more flows. We're so close. So now just 2 more flows. New item, new flow. When an item is marked as dead, we want to basically complete all of the tasks and forget about the lead. So the next 2 flows are going to be what happens when a lead is marked as dead and what happens when a lead is marked as closed. They're going to be very similar in terms of, we're basically, if they're dead, we're going to complete all the tasks, and if they're closed, we're going to complete all the tasks. There are a few differences, but let's do what happens if a lead is marked as dead first. So it's 1.1.2, I think, at this point. Let's have a quick look. Yes. 1.1.2, lead marked as dead. Okay, so we'll do if lead stage has just changed and lead stage is equal to dead, or lead stage is equal to DNC, do not contact. Then first we're going to update the motivation level. Motivation level, we're going to update it. We're going to unset it. There's no motivation level. We're going to communication notification, update it. We don't need to know if we have a missed call. We're never going to contact this lead again. Mark it as silent. Then we're going to get all our tasks, get reference items, get all the tasks associated with this lead, reverse, related item. Then we're going to do if, so sanity, if the task status, so status, ref task status is not equal to completed or complete, we can check what the value is. We want to make sure that the status name matches exactly. We'll just copy and paste it. If the task status is not equal to complete, we need a for each before this, sorry. So for each task item, if the task status is not complete, update collected tasks, status completed, and then we'll comment on the collected task as well. Mark it as silent. Auto completed due to lead being marked as dead. Okay. End if, and continue for each. We're then going to get reference items. We're going to get reference offers. So we also want to check if there's any offers open. We want to kind of sync them up in terms of if the lead's marked as dead, we want to make sure the offer's marked as dead as well. So we're going to update collected offers, mark it as silent, mark the status as offer rejected dead. And that's it. And we'll save it. Now just one more to go. And for this, we're just going to copy this one. Copy the one we just done. Remove this. 1.1.3. Lead marked as closed. So we can just change our filters here. If lead stage is equal to closed, we don't want this one. We're going to remove. We're not going to unset the motivation. You can unset the motivation if you want. Do whatever you want. So then we'll keep the task thing the same. The only thing we want to do is make sure that we change dead to closed. And then we're going to update the offer record to closed. And that's it. That's the whole system done. You now officially have a completely finished system that is really nicely integrated. You're able to generate and send contracts. The only thing left to do is integrate SmrtPhone, which we're going to do in the next video. See you there.